Does that mean I have throat cancer? This is a perfect example of self-diagnosis. What is self-diagnosis? Simply telling yourself that that headache you got last night means you've got a brain tumour. Seems strange, right? Completely unrealistic and illogical. Yet millions of people around the globe do it. In 2013, the Pew Research Centre found that 35% of US adults use self-diagnosis to treat their so-called medical conditions. And in just 5 years, that number increased to 65%, according to Consumer Reports America. Self-diagnosis is currently one of the biggest problems in our society. In fact, I believe it's a modern epidemic. So why is self-diagnosis a modern epidemic? Google plays a major part in this problem. He tells us lies, makes us ignore our doctors, and makes us stress obsessively. I know what you're all thinking. Go on, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that Google is amazing, the best thing that ever happened to you. And I know that, it is. But when it comes to your health, do not trust Dr. Google, no matter what he says. The way Dr. Google influences our health choices is the same way that food companies influence our eating habits. So in a way, when Dr. Google tells you that your sore throat and cough means you've got throat cancer, it's pretty much the same as McDonald's conning you into thinking that their fries are vegetables. And when that's get put into context, it's pretty bad. If you type the word cough into Google, more than 100 articles come up, all of them telling you what a cough can lead to. Whether it's a cold or esophageal cancer, it can't be trusted. If you type best treatment for cancer into Google, websites tell you to try fermented food and offer you DIY cancer kits. Sounds a little strange. But like many of you in this room today, I've had experience in this area. A couple of weeks ago, I started getting dry red spots all over my chest and back. Now, I'm sorry if this is too much information, but the point is, Mum and Dad were getting really worried. So, like any concerned parent, they turned to Google, and Google told them I had measles.
Of course.
About 2 days later, we went to the doctor, and it turned out I had pityriasis rosacea. Now, it's actually not as bad as it sounds. It was triggered by a viral infection, wasn't contagious, and now it's all gone. So Dr. Google lied to us. He told me I had measles, but I only had pityriasis rosacea. Then there's the fact that people seem to think they know more than their doctors do. These are the doctors who've studied at university for 5+ years. They go against the old saying, doctor knows best, because apparently nowadays, patient knows best. An American woman recently succumbed to lupus, an inflammatory disease, after she decided to use self-diagnosis. At a very young age, she was diagnosed with Lyme disease and was successfully treated. A few years later, she developed rheumatoid arthritis and asked the doctors to check her over for Lyme disease. She was diagnosed again and was given antibiotics to treat it. Now the Lyme disease was still there and her arthritis had disappeared. She incorrectly assumed that this was because of the antibiotics. Shortly after this, she became obsessive with the belief that she had chronic Lyme disease. Thanks, Google. Soon after, she had a stroke and developed heart failure, which confirmed the diagnosis of lupus. She took her prescribed medicines for a month or two and stopped after taking online tests. She went to doctors to get stronger medications, but this only made things worse and she developed kidney failure. After various fertility treatments, her lupus, yes, not the Lyme disease, Google, flared up yet again. But due to her strong beliefs of chronic Lyme disease, she ignored the doctor's advice and died from multiple organ failure. All of this because Google lied. This is a perfect example of the patient knows best scenario. In hindsight, the woman should have just listened to her doctor and she would still be alive today. It isn't only the fact that we seem to think we know more than our doctor, or that by self-diagnosing via Google, we get told that we've suddenly got 24 hours to live. But self-diagnosis leads to stress levels that go through the roof. Just imagine how you'd feel being told by Google that you've got cancer. I know that my stress levels would go through the roof. Would I lose my hair? Would I be alive in the morning? Is it actually true? This is why self-diagnosis is inhumane. Did you know that there is an anxiety disorder that is based on the fear of online searches about health? Cyberchondria, as it is known by doctors, is simply becoming anxious after reading online health articles. And by adding on your own twisted and inaccurate knowledge, you stress more and more and more. And you all know just as well as I do that in this day and age, we do not need any more stress. Just imagine lying awake at night, worrying about the exam you've got at school the next day, the all-important job interview tomorrow afternoon, and everyday life in general. Add on the terrifying thoughts of whether you've actually got terminal cancer, and you've got a recipe for disaster. So my question for everyone in the room today, is self-diagnosis really a modern epidemic? My answer is yes. People need to stop relying on Google. Not only is the world-famous doctor a world-class liar, he also makes us stop trusting our doctors and causes stress levels to soar. So what do you think now? Is self-diagnosis a modern epidemic? I believe so. And it's not just a modern epidemic either. I'd say that it's one of the most dangerous, most terrifying, most prevalent epidemics to have ever graced the globe.